Hello, and welcome back to Today English Podcast. My name is Laura, and I'm here to guide you on your journey to clear, confident, and natural English. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss a lesson. Your support truly helps this channel grow. All right, take a deep breath, relax, and let's begin today's session. Today English Podcast. Welcome, my friend. I am happy you are here. Today, we will talk about planning your goals step by step, but we will talk about it in a story, a very simple and slow story, so you can relax, listen, and understand every word. I want you to imagine that you and I are walking together on a quiet morning road. The air is soft, the light is gentle, and you can hear the small sounds of the world waking up. I speak to you slowly. You listen easily. And together, we explore something important: how to plan your goals in a way that feels natural, peaceful, and clear. So let me begin this story in a quiet moment where everything starts with one small thought. There was a young man named Daniel. He lived in a small town by the sea. Every morning, the sun touched the water with warm gold, and the waves made a soft rhythm, like breathing. Daniel loved this place. He loved the calm sound and the simple life. But inside him, something was not calm. Something was restless. Something wanted to grow, to move, to change. He woke up many mornings with a question in his mind. What do I really want to do with my life? Maybe you know this question too. Maybe you have felt this same pull, this same wish to grow and move forward, but you did not know exactly how or where to begin. One morning, Daniel sat by the water with a cup of warm tea. He looked at the open sea. He watched a small boat in the distance, slowly moving, following a direction. And he thought, why does the boat look so calm? Why does it move forward without stress? And then he realized something simple. The boat knows where it wants to go. It has a destination. It does not wake up unsure. It does not stand still. It moves, even slowly, because it has a direction. And in that moment, Daniel felt something inside him grow a little brighter. He thought, maybe I need a direction too. Maybe I need a clear goal. But then he laughed a little, because he knew it was not so easy. People say set goals all the time, but no one explains what that really means or how to do it without feeling lost. So Daniel decided to take one small step. He stood up and walked along the beach. The air smelled like salt. The sand felt cool under his feet. And as he walked, he tried to think about his life. He asked himself, what do I want? What do I truly want? But the question felt too big, too heavy, too complicated. So he stopped walking, took a deep breath, and tried again, more simply. What is one thing, he asked himself, one simple thing that I want to see change in my life? And suddenly, the question felt easier. He remembered his dream from many years ago. When he was a child, he wanted to learn to play the guitar. He wanted to make music, not to be famous, not to perform on a big stage, but simply to feel the joy of creating sound with his own hands. He smiled when he remembered this. He could almost feel that old dream, warm and alive inside him. But then another thought came. Is this goal too small? Shouldn't I choose something bigger? More important? He felt confused again. Maybe you have felt this too, when you want to choose a goal, but you think it must be big, impressive, or exciting enough. But Daniel realized something in that moment. The size of the goal did not matter. What mattered was that the goal felt true. It felt honest. It felt like something his heart wanted. He walked a little more and thought about this slowly. He told himself, a real goal is not something other people choose for you. A real goal is something you choose for yourself. And with that thought, he felt a little lighter. He felt a little clearer. So he decided, my first goal will be simple. I want to learn to play the guitar. It was a small goal, yes, but it was meaningful. It was real. Later that day, Daniel sat at his small wooden desk in his room. He took a notebook and opened it to the first blank page. He wrote at the top, "My goal, learn to play the guitar." When he saw the words on the page, he felt a small wave of happiness. But he also felt something else. Fear, doubt, questions. How do I start? What do I need? How long will it take? And the biggest question, what if I fail? The fear of failure is strong. Sometimes it stops us before we begin. Sometimes it makes us hide from our own dreams. But Daniel remembered the calm boat on the water. It moved because it knew where it wanted to go. It did not think about storms yet. It did not think about danger. It simply moved forward. So Daniel looked at his notebook again and told himself, this is only the first step. I am not trying to finish everything today. He took a slow breath. He looked around his room. He looked at the sunlight coming through the window. And he felt something soft and warm rise inside him. It was the feeling of beginning. The feeling of giving himself permission to start small. And that is one of the first lessons in planning your goals. You must allow yourself to begin with something small. Something real. Something honest. That night, Daniel walked outside again. The stars were bright above him. The air was cool and gentle. And as he walked, he thought about his goal with calm feelings. No pressure. No stress. Just possibility. He remembered the stories he heard from older people in his town, stories about simple beginnings that grew into beautiful chapters of life. He remembered a fisherman telling him once, every long journey begins with a first push on the water. And Daniel smiled because he understood now. His small goal was his first push. The next morning, he woke up early with a new kind of energy. Not excitement exactly, but something deeper, intention. He sat again with his warm tea and looked at the sea, where the morning light danced softly on the waves. And he whispered to himself, I am ready. This is how his goal-planning journey began. Not with a big plan. Not with a long list. Not with pressure. But with one simple decision, to begin. Now, my friend, I want you to think about Daniel's moment. His small beginning. I want you to think about your own life. Maybe there is something you want. Something you have been thinking about for a long time. Something that feels important, but also a little scary. It might be learning English. It might be starting a new job. It might be becoming healthier, happier, or more confident. Maybe it is something very personal, something only you understand. And maybe, just like Daniel, you sometimes feel unsure about how to begin. But here is the truth I want you to feel. Beginnings are small. They are quiet. They are simple. And they do not need to be perfect. You do not need a complete plan before you start. You only need to choose one direction. One goal. One first step. This first step is powerful. It changes your mind. It changes your focus. It changes the way you see your own life. Because when you choose a goal, even a small one, you tell yourself, my life is moving forward. And that simple belief can open a door inside you that has been closed for a long time. So, as we continue walking together in this story, imagine that you and I pause for a moment. We stand on a quiet road. We look at the sky, at the world around us, and at the path ahead. And I ask you softly, what is one goal you want to begin? Not the perfect goal. Not the biggest goal. Just one real, honest, simple goal. Hold that thought gently. You do not need to say it out loud. Just feel it in your mind. Because in the next sections of our story, we will explore how Daniel takes that small goal and turns it into a clear, simple plan. And you will learn how to do the same. Step by step. Slowly. Calmly. Like a quiet morning wave touching the shore. But for now, allow this moment to be your beginning. A calm, soft beginning. A moment of clarity. A moment where you tell yourself, I am ready to take my first step. And with that, we close this part of the story and prepare for the next part, where Daniel learns something important about breaking big ideas into small actions and how you can do the same. The next morning, Daniel woke up with soft sunlight touching his face. He stretched slowly, felt the quiet air in his room, and remembered the small promise he made to himself the day before. His goal. His simple goal. Learn to play the guitar. Just thinking about it made him smile a little, because it felt real now. Not a dream floating somewhere far away, but something he was slowly walking toward. Something that had already begun in his heart. But as he sat up and looked around, a new feeling came to him, something gentle but uncertain. He thought, how do I actually start? What is the first action? He knew the goal, but he did not yet know the steps. And this is where many people feel stuck. Maybe you know this feeling. You choose a goal and you feel happy about it, but then you think about the next step, and everything suddenly feels big, heavy, and confusing. But today, Daniel would learn something simple and powerful, something that would help him and you understand how to plan goals step by step. Daniel walked outside into the cool morning air. The sky was a soft blue, and the sound of the sea was gentle. As he walked along the beach, he saw an old man sitting on a rock, repairing a fishing net. The man's name was Elias. He was a quiet person, but everyone in town respected him. He had lived many years by the sea, and people said he understood life almost as well as he understood the ocean. Daniel liked talking to him. So he walked closer and watched for a moment. Elias worked slowly, carefully tying small knots in the net, fixing each part one by one. After a few moments, Daniel said, "Good morning, Elias." Elias looked up and smiled. "Good morning, Daniel. You are out early today." "Yes," Daniel said softly, "I am thinking about something." Elias nodded, still working on the net. Thinking is good. The morning is the best time for thinking. Daniel sat on a small piece of driftwood near him and watched his hands move with calm skill. After a moment, he asked, "Why do you tie the net like that?" Slowly, one knot at a time. Elias looked at him with warm, patient eyes. "Because that is the only way to fix a net. You cannot fix the whole thing at once. You fix one small part, then the next, and the next. Piece by piece, the net becomes strong again." Daniel watched silently. He felt something inside him shift. Something small but important. Elias continued, "A net breaks in many places. Life is the same. But when you repair it slowly, one knot at a time, it becomes strong again. Big things are always made of small things." Daniel felt the meaning of those words slowly settle in his mind. Big things are always made of small things. He thought about his goal again. In his mind, learning to play the guitar felt like one big thing. A huge thing. Something that might take weeks, months, or even years. And when he thought of it as one big thing, it felt heavy. But Elias's words made him see it differently. Maybe he did not need to learn the whole guitar. Maybe he only needed to learn one small part. Then another. Then another. Like tying small knots in a net. "Elias," Daniel said softly, "I want to learn to play the guitar." Elias looked up and smiled. "That is a good goal. But I don't know how to begin," Daniel admitted. Elias put down the net for a moment. He looked at Daniel kindly and said, "Then you begin the same way I fixed this net. With one small piece." Daniel waited. He listened carefully. "What is the first thing you need to play a guitar?" Elias asked. Daniel thought, "Well, I need a guitar." Elias laughed gently. "Yes, that is the first step. You see? The big goal becomes clear when you ask the right small question." Daniel smiled. It was so simple. So obvious. But he had never thought about it that way. He had been thinking about the big idea of learning guitar and not the small first step. "One small step," Daniel repeated quietly. "Yes," Elias said as he picked up his net again. Find the first small step, then the next. That is how you move without fear. As Daniel walked away from the beach, those words echoed in his mind. One small step. He felt lighter, clearer. The big goal was still there, but now it felt like something he could hold in his hands, something he could touch, something he could begin today. He went home and sat at his desk again. He opened his notebook and wrote, "Goal: learn to play the guitar. Step 1: get a guitar." He looked at the words and laughed softly. It seemed almost too simple. But simple was good. Simple was clear. Simple was possible. And that was the point. If a step is too big, we never take it. If a step is small, even tiny, we can take it right away. Daniel decided to visit a small music shop in the town center. The shop was old and quiet, filled with instruments hanging from the walls like stories waiting to be told. When he entered, a little bell above the door made a gentle ring. The shopkeeper, a woman named Marin, looked up and smiled. "Hello, Daniel. I haven't seen you here in a long time." Daniel smiled back. "I want to learn the guitar. I thought, maybe I should start by finding one." Marin nodded with warm approval. "A good beginning," she said. She walked to a corner of the shop and picked up a simple wooden guitar. "This one is small, light, good for beginners." Daniel held it carefully. It felt strange in his hands, but also exciting. He touched the strings gently. The sound was soft and not very clear, but it made him feel something new, possibility. He bought the guitar, wrapped it carefully, and carried it home. When he arrived back at his room, he placed the guitar on his desk. He sat on his bed and just looked at it for a while. It was beautiful, and it made his goal feel even more real. He thought again about Elias's words, "Big things are made of small things." Getting the guitar was one small knot, one small part of the journey. That night, after dinner, he opened his notebook again and wrote, "Step 1: get a guitar, done. Step 2: learn basic chords. Step 3: practice 10 minutes a day." These steps felt clear. They felt simple. And they felt gentle, not heavy, not stressful. And this is how goal planning becomes powerful. When you break a big idea into small steps, you give yourself a path. You give yourself a way to move. You create a direction. Daniel sat with his notebook open and felt something inside him grow again. Confidence. Not strong confidence, but quiet confidence. The kind that grows slowly, like a plant reaching for light. He picked up the guitar carefully. He did not know how to play it yet, but he touched the strings softly and listened to the small sounds they made. He felt proud. And being proud of a small first step is an important part of motivation. Many people wait to feel proud until the end of the journey, but Daniel learned that you can feel proud in the beginning too. You can feel proud every time you take one small step forward. Later that evening, the sun set outside his window. The sky turned orange, then pink, then blue. Daniel sat by the window with the guitar on his lap, and he whispered to himself, "One small step." He closed his eyes and imagined the future. Not a perfect future. Not a big future. Just a simple future where he could sit by the sea and play a song on his guitar. A quiet song. A warm song. A song that came from his own hands. The image felt good. It felt peaceful. It felt possible. And this is where Daniel made another important discovery that you can learn from too. Planning your goal is not only about writing steps. It is also about imagining the feeling of the future. Imagining the calm, the joy, the sense of growth. When you imagine the feeling of the result, your heart becomes your guide. Your motivation becomes softer, but stronger. He thought about how many times in the past he wanted to change something in his life, but felt overwhelmed. Now he understood why. He used to think about goals as something big and heavy, something you must climb like a tall mountain. But now he knew the truth. You don't climb a mountain in one jump. You climb it step by step. And when you focus on the next small step, the mountain feels less frightening. The next day, Daniel woke up early again. He opened his notebook, looked at step 2, and said, "Today I learned basic chords." He did not worry about tomorrow. He did not think about becoming a great guitar player. He thought only about the next small step. And this made everything feel calm. As he began practicing the chords, he made mistakes, many mistakes. His fingers felt stiff. The strings sounded wrong. Sometimes he even laughed at how strange and clumsy it felt. But he kept going because he knew something important. Mistakes are. Steps 2. Mistakes are part of progress. Mistakes are signs that you are doing the work. He practiced for 10 minutes. Only 10. And when he finished, he felt proud again. Not because he played well, but because he showed up. He tried. He took one more small step. That evening, as he walked outside, he felt the cool breeze and watched the stars appear. He thought about life, about goals, about the small steps that create big change. He realized something simple and beautiful. When you take small steps every day, life becomes less scary and more exciting. You stop feeling lost. You stop feeling stuck. You start feeling like you are moving. Even slowly, you are moving. And movement creates hope. Movement creates direction. Movement creates transformation. So, my friend, as you listen to this story, I want you to think about your own goal. You already have the first part, the moment of choosing a simple, honest goal. Now you can follow Daniel's next discovery. Break the big goal into small steps. Very small steps. Steps so simple that you can begin today. What is your step 1? What is the first small thing you need? Hold that thought gently. Let it grow in your mind like a quiet light. Because in the next section of our story, Daniel learns what to do after he takes the first steps and how to keep going, even on the days when motivation feels weak. But for now, rest in this moment. You have a goal. You have a beginning. And you have your first small step. The next week of Daniel's life began quietly, gently, almost like a soft melody. Each morning, he woke up with the sound of waves touching the shore. Each morning, he sat with his guitar for 10 minutes and practiced his simple chords. And each morning, he felt a small warmth inside him, pride, progress, possibility. His steps were small, but they were real. And every small step made his goal feel a little closer, a little more alive. But life, as you know, is not always gentle. Motivation does not stay strong every day. Even the calmest sea can become cloudy, and even the brightest morning can feel heavy inside the heart. And Daniel was about to experience this in a way he did not expect. It happened on the 8th day. Daniel woke up feeling tired. He didn't know why. He slept well, but his body felt slow, and his mind felt heavy. He sat on the edge of his bed and rubbed his eyes, but the heaviness stayed. He looked at his guitar resting on the chair beside his desk. Usually when he saw the guitar, he felt excited or proud. But on this morning, he felt something different. He felt distance. He felt resistance. A small thought came into his mind. Maybe I don't want to practice today. It was a quiet thought, but it carried weight. He stood up slowly, walked to the window, and opened it. The morning air touched his face, cool and gentle. But instead of feeling refreshed, he felt a little lost. He whispered to himself, "Why do I feel like this?" He did not know. And that was the most confusing part. He wanted to learn the guitar. He believed in his goal. He had started so well. He did not understand why his motivation suddenly felt weak. But this is something many people experience. When you begin a new goal, the first days feel exciting. Everything feels new. Everything feels possible. But after a little time, the excitement becomes softer. The newness becomes normal. And when that happens, your mind asks for something new again. It looks for the next excitement. But goals do not grow with excitement alone. They grow with consistency. They grow with steady steps. They grow with patience. Daniel walked outside to clear his head. The morning air was fresh, but his thoughts were cloudy. He walked along the beach, watching the waves move back and forth. He felt a little guilty for not practicing yet, and he felt a little confused about why he didn't want to practice at all. He walked for a long time, hoping the answer would come. And as he walked, he saw Elias again, sitting on the same rock, working on another net. Daniel walked toward him slowly. Elias looked up. "Good morning, Daniel." "Good morning," Daniel said softly. Elias studied his face for a moment, then asked gently, "Something is on your mind today?" Daniel sat down beside him and sighed. "I don't know what happened. I was doing well. I practiced every day. But today, I just don't feel like it." Elias nodded calmly. "That is normal." Daniel looked at him with surprise. "Normal?" "Yes," Elias said as he tied another knot in the net. "Every goal has quiet days. Days when the wind is soft. Days when the waves feel heavy. Days when your heart is slow. So what should I do?" Daniel asked, feeling a little desperate. Elias smiled softly. "Do you think fishermen always feel motivated to go to the sea?" Daniel shook his head. "I guess not." "No," Elias said. "Some mornings the sea is cold. Some mornings the sky is gray. Some mornings their bodies are tired. But they still go." "Why?" Daniel thought about it. "Because they must?" "No," Elias said gently. "Not because they must. Because they have rhythm. They have routine. They have steadiness. Motivation is a visitor. It comes and goes. But discipline is a friend. It stays." Daniel listened carefully. Elias's voice was calm, like the sound of the ocean. Elias continued, "When you do something only on the days you feel motivated, you will not go far. But when you do something even on the quiet days, the slow days, the heavy days, then you grow. Then you become stronger. Then your goal becomes part of your life." Daniel looked down at the sand, thinking deeply. "So, I should practice even if I don't feel like it." "Not forcefully," Elias said, shaking his head. "Not with pressure. But with kindness. With gentleness. With steadiness. On days like today, practice less, not more. Do not fight yourself. Just touch your guitar. Hold it. Play one chord. Only one. And that is enough." "Only one?" Daniel asked. Elias nodded. "Small actions keep the door open. When you skip the action completely, the door begins to close. But when you do even a tiny bit, the door stays open. And tomorrow, it will be easier to walk through it again." Daniel felt something relax inside him. A small release. A small understanding. "One chord," he repeated quietly. "Yes," Elias said with a smile. "Some days, one chord is all you need." Daniel stood up slowly. "Thank you, Elias." "You are welcome," Elias said, returning to his net. "Remember, Daniel, goals are not built on strong days alone. They are built on all days." As Daniel walked home, he felt lighter. He no longer felt guilty or confused. He understood now. Today did not need to be perfect. Today only needed one small action. One gentle step. One quiet moment of progress. When he returned to his room, he picked up his guitar. He held it for a moment and breathed in slowly. He did not try to be perfect. He did not try to practice everything. He simply put his fingers on one chord. The sound was simple, soft, and not very smooth. But it was a sound. A real sound. A sound that kept the door open. He practiced for 2 minutes. Only 2. Then he set the guitar down and smiled slightly. It was enough. More than enough. Later that night, as he lay in bed, Daniel realized something important. Goals are not only about energy. They are also about stability. When motivation is high, you move fast. When motivation is low, you move slowly. But the important thing is that you keep moving at any speed. The next morning, Daniel woke up still feeling a little heavy, but not as much as before. He looked at his guitar and felt a soft connection again. Not excitement, but comfort. He practiced for 5 minutes. Then the next day, 10 minutes again. Slowly, his rhythm returned. Slowly, his light returned. Slowly, his motivation returned. Like a wave coming back to shore. One evening, as the sun fell behind the hills, Daniel decided to take a walk. The sky was orange and gold, glowing like a warm fire. He carried his notebook with him and sat on the sand. He opened it to a new page and wrote, "Motivation comes and goes. Small actions keep the door open. Consistency is stronger than motivation." He looked at those words for a long time. They felt true. They felt important. They felt like something he wanted to remember not only for the guitar, but for every goal in his life. As the waves rolled in and out, he thought about people everywhere, people like you, who want to grow, who want to change, who want to reach their dreams, but sometimes feel tired or discouraged. And he wished he could tell them it's okay. Slow days are part of the journey. You are not failing. You are simply human. But maybe through this story, he is telling you that. On the walk home, he passed the music shop. The lights were on, and he saw Marin inside, tuning a violin. He stopped for a moment and watched her. Her hands moved with calm skill, the same calm skill Elias had when fixing his nets. Both of them understood something Daniel was just beginning to understand. Skill grows with time. Skill grows with consistency. Skill grows with practice, not perfection. Marin looked up and saw him through the window. She opened the door and stepped outside. "Hello, Daniel," she said with a warm smile. "How is your guitar practice going?" Daniel smiled shyly. "Some days good. Some days not so good." Marin laughed softly. "That means it is going perfectly." He looked confused. "Perfectly? But I thought." Marin shook her head gently. "No one learns anything in a straight line. Some days you rise. Some days you fall. But together, the steps move you forward." Daniel felt her words settle in his mind like gentle rain. "Thank you, Marin," he said. She nodded, then added, "Just keep showing up. That's the secret." As Daniel walked the rest of the way home, he repeated those words in his mind, "Keep showing up." He thought about all the times he had given up on goals in the past because he believed slow days were signs of failure. Now he knew the truth. Slow days are simply part of the journey. They are not the enemy. They are not the end. They are just quiet moments in the long story of growth. When he reached home, he sat at his desk, opened his notebook, and wrote one more sentence. "I will keep showing up." It was a promise, not a loud promise, not a dramatic promise, but a gentle one. The kind of promise that stays. The kind of promise that guides you through difficult days. And so, my friend, as you listen to this story, ask yourself, what will you do on your quiet days? What small action can you take to keep your door open? Even if your motivation is weak, even if your energy is low, even if your heart feels tired, what is the one tiny step you can still take? Your goal does not require perfection. Your goal requires presence. It requires kindness. It requires patience. It requires the simple courage to keep showing up. In the next part of our story, Daniel discovers something new, how to build a routine that makes goals easier, smoother, and more natural. A routine that carries you even when your mind feels cloudy. A routine that slowly becomes part of your life, like breathing. But for now, rest in this moment. You have learned something important. Something powerful. Something Daniel learned too. You do not need strong motivation every day. You only need small, steady steps. The next part of Daniel's journey began on a soft, quiet morning, a morning that felt almost like a blank page. The sky was pale and calm. The sea breathed slowly. And Daniel sat at his desk looking at his guitar, thinking about the days behind him and the days ahead. He had learned something important about small steps, something important about staying steady even when his motivation faded. But now he wanted something more. He wanted to make his practice feel natural. He wanted to build a rhythm, a routine, something that would carry him forward even when he felt tired or busy or distracted. Something that would help him grow without thinking too much about it. Something simple, like brushing his teeth every morning or tying his shoes before leaving the house. And so, the idea of creating a routine began to form in his mind, soft at first, like a gentle whisper, then slowly clearer. That morning, he decided to take another long walk by the beach to think about this. The sun was rising, turning the water a soft gold. The sand felt cool under his feet. With each step, he could feel his thoughts becoming calmer and more open. As he walked, he remembered all the times he tried to learn new things in the past. He always started strong and excited, but then, after some days or weeks, he stopped. He never knew why. He thought maybe he was lazy. Maybe he did not have enough discipline. But now, as he grew wiser through this journey, he realized something simple. He did not fail because he was weak. He failed because he did not have a routine. When something becomes part of your routine, it becomes part of your life. You no longer have to decide every time whether to do it or not. You simply do it. Like waking up. Like drinking water. Like taking a shower. Routine removes the heavy thinking. Routine removes the stress. Routine gives you stability. As he thought about this, Daniel saw someone sitting on the sand ahead of him. It was Marin, the music shop owner. She had a small cup of tea and was watching the waves quietly. "Good morning," Daniel said as he approached. Marin turned and smiled. "Good morning, Daniel. Up early again, I see." "Yes," he said, sitting down beside her. "I'm thinking about my guitar practice again." Marin took a slow sip of her tea. "That is good. Thinking is part of the journey too." Daniel looked at the waves and took a deep breath. "I understand small steps now. I understand that I need to keep showing up. But I want to make it easier. I want practicing to feel natural. I want to create a routine." "A routine," Marin repeated softly, as if she liked the sound of the word. "That is a beautiful idea. Routine is what turns effort into habit. And habit turns dreams into life." Daniel looked at her. "How do I make a routine? I'm not sure where to start." Marin smiled gently. "Start with time. A routine begins with choosing a moment in your day. A moment that belongs to your goal. A moment that repeats. Every day. Like sunrise. Like sunset." Daniel thought about this. "A moment, like morning?" "Yes," Marin said. "If you practice every morning, even just for 10 minutes, your mind will begin to expect it, your hands will begin to expect it, your day will begin to expect it. Soon you will not need to choose. It will happen naturally." Daniel nodded slowly. "So I should choose one time and practice at that same time every day?" "That is the beginning," Marin said kindly. "But remember, routines are not strict rules. They are gentle rhythms. If you miss the moment, it's okay. Find another moment that day. Routines are alive. They move with you." Daniel listened carefully. Her words felt soft and real, like water flowing around stones. "And there is something else," Marin added. "Your routine must be simple. Too big and you will break it. Too heavy and you will drop it. Too long and you will avoid it. Start small. Always small. 10 minutes is enough. Even 5 minutes is enough." Daniel looked at the horizon, watching the sun rise slowly. "I think I like the idea of practicing in the morning. It feels calm. It feels quiet." Marin smiled. "Then choose it. And let your mornings belong to your music." Daniel thanked her and stood up. And as he walked home, he felt a sense of direction, a sense of clarity, a sense of peace. He knew exactly what he wanted to do next. When he returned to his room, he took out his notebook and wrote, "My routine: practice guitar every morning for 10 minutes." He looked at the words carefully, letting them settle into his heart. And then he began to imagine how it would feel. He imagined waking up, stretching, taking a breath, picking up his guitar, and playing a simple chord. He imagined doing this not just today, but tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. And as he imagined it, he felt something warm inside him, something like a quiet promise. The next morning, he began the routine. He woke up slowly, washed his face, opened the window to let the fresh air inside, then picked up his guitar. He set a gentle timer for 10 minutes, not a loud alarm, not something stressful, just a soft reminder. And he practiced. Slowly, gently, with kindness. The chords were not perfect, but they were honest. And the 10 minutes passed peacefully. The day after that, he did the same. And the next. And the next. With each morning, the routine began to feel more natural. The guitar began to feel like part of the room, part of the morning, part of Daniel himself. But routines are not always easy at the beginning. And after a week, something changed. One morning, Daniel woke up late. He felt rushed. He had to help his mother in the garden, and he had to meet a friend in the afternoon. There was no calm morning. There was no time. He felt the stress rising inside him. He looked at his guitar and felt a wave of guilt wash over him. "I'm breaking my routine," he whispered. He sat down on the edge of his bed, feeling frustrated. "What should I do? I don't have time. I can't practice properly today." He felt almost ready to give up on the day. But then he remembered something Marin said. Routines are alive. They move with you. And something Elias said, one chord is enough. So Daniel took a slow breath. He walked to his guitar, picked it up, and played a single chord. One. Simple. Soft. He let the sound fade. He placed the guitar back on the chair. It took 10 seconds. But those 10 seconds kept the door open. Later that night, Daniel wrote in his notebook, "Even when the day changes, my routine can bend. Even when I am busy, I can do one small action. Routines are gentle, not strict." He closed his notebook and felt proud. Not because he practiced well, but because he stayed connected to his goal. He kept the rhythm alive. In the days that followed, Daniel discovered more about routines. He learned that routines grow stronger when they are connected to something pleasant. So he began to make his practice special. Every morning, he made a warm cup of tea before picking up his guitar. He opened the window so the morning air could flow into the room. He placed a small candle on his desk and lit it before playing. These small things made the moment feel peaceful. They made the routine feel like something he looked forward to. Something gentle. Something beautiful. He also realized that routines do not have to be perfect. Some mornings, he practiced for 10 minutes. Some mornings, he practiced for 15. Some mornings, only 5 minutes. Sometimes, just one chord. But because he kept returning to it, the routine grew stronger. It became part of him. One evening, Daniel sat with Elias on the beach again. The sun was setting, and the sky was painted in orange and pink. "I think I'm starting to understand," Daniel said softly. "A routine is like the tide. It comes every day. Sometimes strong, sometimes weak. But it always comes." Elias nodded carefully. "Exactly. Routines give your life shape. They give your days meaning. They teach your heart to trust your own steps." Daniel thought about that. "I always thought discipline meant pushing myself hard. But now I see it as something softer." Elias smiled. "Real discipline is gentle. Real discipline is patient. Real discipline is steady. It is not loud. It is quiet. It is something you grow slowly, like a plant. Daniel looked at the waves. They moved with soft rhythm, rising and falling again and again. Never perfect. Never the same. But always steady. As the stars came out, Daniel realized how far he had come since the day he learned to play the guitar at the top of his notebook. Slowly, step by step, he was becoming someone new, someone who understood himself better, someone who trusted himself more, someone who moved forward with kindness, not pressure. And now, my friend, as you listen to this, I want you to think about your own goal. You have chosen it. You have taken small steps. You have learned to stay steady on quiet days. Now ask yourself, what routine can you create? What moment in your day can belong to your goal? What simple rhythm can gently move you forward every day? You do not need something big. You only need something small. Something real. Something gentle. Because routines, just like dreams, grow slowly. And one day, you will look back and see how far you have come. In the next part of our story, Daniel learns another powerful lesson: how to handle challenges when life becomes busy or unexpected, and how to protect his goals even during difficult times. But for now, rest in this moment. Let this soft truth settle in your heart. A routine is not built in one day. It is built every day, with kindness, with patience. As the days passed, Daniel's guitar practice became part of his life, almost like the sun rising each morning or the rhythm of the waves touching the sand. His fingers moved a little more naturally. His ears understood sounds a little more clearly. His hands learned simple patterns, simple chords, simple movements. He did not become perfect, and he did not expect perfection. He simply grew. Slowly, quietly, steadily. And every morning when he practiced, he felt calm. He felt direction. He felt purpose. But life, as life always does, began to change. Not suddenly, not loudly, but little by little. Daniel did not notice it at first. He continued his routine, continued writing in his notebook, continued walking by the sea when he needed to think. But one day, a new challenge arrived. It began with a storm. The sky grew dark early in the morning. The wind pushed against the small houses near the shore. The sea no longer whispered, it roared. Heavy rain poured down like thick curtains of water. Daniel woke up to the sound of thunder and felt the air shake slightly. He sat up in his bed, looked out the window, and saw the world outside covered in gray. The morning was no longer calm. The routine no longer felt easy. He got up and walked to his guitar. He touched the wooden body softly. Usually, this touch made him feel warm. Today, he felt distracted. His mind was not clear. He felt restless, nervous, unsettled. And then he remembered, today he had many things to do. He had promised to help his neighbor repair her broken fence. He had to visit his aunt who lived in the hills. And he had planned to study for an exam scheduled next week. The storm outside seemed to match the storm inside him. He sat on the edge of his bed and whispered to himself, "How will I practice today?" His mind felt tight. His thoughts felt heavy. The routine that usually brought him peace now felt like one more thing in a long list of responsibilities. He looked at the clock. Time was moving fast. He picked up the guitar, then put it down again. He stood up, then sat down again. He felt confused. He felt pulled in many directions. And slowly, a quiet fear formed in him. If I miss today, will I lose my rhythm? Will I lose my progress? Will I lose my goal? This fear made him feel even more anxious. After a few moments, he decided to take a short walk to calm his mind, even though the storm was still heavy. He put on his raincoat, stepped outside, and walked along the small path behind his house. The wind pushed against him. The rain tapped loudly on his hood. The world felt chaotic. But in that chaos, He needed clarity. He followed the path until he reached a small wooden shelter near the old lighthouse. He stepped inside, shook the water from his coat, and sat down on a bench. He could hear the storm, but here, under the roof, it felt a little safer, a little quieter. As he sat there, thinking about his routine, thinking about his responsibilities, he heard footsteps approaching. A familiar voice said, "Stormy morning, isn't it?" Daniel looked up. It was Elias, carrying a thick rope over his shoulder. "Yes," Daniel said, "I needed to get some air." Elias sat beside him, placing the rope on the ground. "A storm can shake the world," he said, "but it does not have to shake you." Daniel looked at him tiredly. "My day is full. I don't know how to practice today. I don't know how to protect my routine." Elias nodded slowly, as if he understood the feeling well. "This is an important moment, Daniel. This is the moment every person with a goal must face. The moment when life becomes busy. The moment when your schedule becomes full. The moment when you feel pulled in many directions." Daniel sighed. "Yes, I feel all of that." "You see," Elias continued, "anyone can follow a routine when life is easy. But the true strength of a goal appears when life is difficult." Daniel listened quietly. The storm continued outside, heavy and wild. Elias picked up a small stone from the ground. He held it between his fingers and said, "Imagine this stone is your goal." Then he placed the stone on the bench and gently pushed it with one finger. When the wind is strong, when the waves are big, a small push can make the stone fall. Then he picked up a much larger stone and placed it on the bench. But when your goal is part of you, deep, strong, firm, even the strongest wind cannot move it. Daniel looked at the two stones. The small one was light. The larger one was heavy and solid. "So how do I make my goal strong?" he asked. Elias smiled gently. "You protect it." "Protect it?" Daniel repeated. "Yes," Elias said. "Not by fighting. Not by pushing yourself harder. You protect it by staying connected to it, even in small ways. On busy days, you do not need a long practice. You only need a moment. One chord. One breath. One quiet reminder. That is protection." Daniel thought about that. "Like keeping the door open?" "Exactly," Elias said. "If you keep the door open, even just a little, your goal stays alive." Daniel looked out at the storm. "But it feels difficult today." Elias nodded. "Difficult days teach you the most. They teach you how to continue without perfection. They teach you how to be gentle with yourself. They teach you how to protect what matters." Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. He breathed in slowly. Then he breathed out. He felt something soften inside him. The storm outside still roared, but a quiet place inside him began to grow. "I think I understand," Daniel said softly. "Today is not about playing well. Today is about staying connected." "Yes," Elias said. "And that connection, however small, is your strength." Daniel and Elias sat in silence for a while, listening to the storm. The sound was loud, but the moment felt peaceful. Slowly, the fear in Daniel's heart began to fade. He no longer felt the pressure of practicing perfectly. He felt the simple desire to protect his goal, to stay connected, to keep the door open. After a while, Daniel stood up. "I should go," he said. "I have many things to do today." Elias nodded. "And, somewhere in that day, find your moment. Even 1 minute. Let it be your anchor." Daniel thanked him and walked back home through the rain. His steps were slow but steady. When he arrived, he dried his clothes, sat on his bed, and picked up his guitar. He did not set a timer. He did not plan anything special. He simply placed his fingers on one chord and strummed softly. The sound was simple. Not perfect. Not impressive. But real. He sat with the guitar for 2 minutes. Then he gently placed it back on the chair. And that was enough. The storm continued outside, but inside his room, Daniel felt calm. He felt proud. He felt connected. He felt strong. That night, before going to bed, Daniel opened his notebook and wrote, "Difficult days come, but my goal stays with me. I protect it with small actions. I keep the door open." He read those words again and again, letting the meaning sink deep into his heart. The next day, the storm began to fade. The sky slowly turned brighter. The waves became softer. And Daniel woke up with a new understanding. Life will always have busy days, stormy days, heavy days. But goals do not disappear during those moments unless you let them. If you protect your goal gently, with small actions, it will always return to you when the sky clears. And now, my friend, as you listen to this part of the story, I want you to think about your own goal. Think about the days when your life becomes busy or stressful. Think about the days when everything feels heavy. On those days, remember this. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to stay connected. Even 1 minute. Even one action. Even one breath. Because small actions are strong actions. And in the next part of our story, Daniel discovers something even more powerful: how to measure progress in a way that gives you energy, confidence, and hope. But for now, rest in this truth. Difficult days do not break your goal, only disconnection does. Stay connected, stay gentle, protect your goal. As the storm passed and the days slowly returned to calm, Daniel began to notice something strange, something gentle but surprising. Every time he practiced his guitar, even for a short moment, he felt a small shift inside him. A shift in his hands. A shift in his mind. A shift in his heart. But he did not fully understand what it meant. He didn't know if he was truly improving. He didn't know if he was moving forward or simply repeating the same things. He only knew that he was showing up. He was protecting his goal. He was practicing every day. Then, one quiet afternoon, something changed. It was a warm day, the kind of day when the sun touches everything with a soft golden light. Daniel finished his morning work early and decided to practice a little longer than usual. He sat near the window, opened the curtains wide, and let the sunlight cover the small wooden guitar. He picked it up gently, placed it on his lap, and began to play the simple chords he had been learning for the last few weeks. But something happened. His hands moved easier. His fingers were less stiff. His mind did not pause before placing each finger. The movement flowed like a quiet river. Not fast. Not perfect. But natural. Daniel noticed this and stopped. He looked at his hands with surprise. "When did this happen?" he whispered, almost laughing. He played again. The same thing. The chords sounded warmer. Softer. More steady. He felt a small, warm wave inside him, something close to pride, but calmer, deeper. He placed the guitar down slowly, stood up, and walked to the mirror in his room. He looked at himself and smiled. "I think I'm getting better," he said softly. It felt strange to say it, because he never felt himself improve day by day. Every day felt almost the same. But now, all at once, he could feel the difference. It was like watching a plant grow. You do not see the movement, but one day you wake up and the plant is taller, stronger, greener. He realized something important. Progress is quiet. Progress is often invisible in the moment. Progress hides inside small actions. And only when you look back, only when you pause, only when you breathe, do you see how far you have come. That afternoon, Daniel decided to take another long walk by the sea. He wanted to enjoy the feeling. The tide was low and the sand was smooth. The waves were small and gentle, like soft hands brushing the shore. As he walked, he remembered all the days he struggled, all the mornings he practiced for only a minute, all the moments he felt tired or unmotivated. And yet, every small action had brought him to this moment. As he walked, he saw Marin sitting outside her music shop, tuning a guitar in the sunlight. "Hello, Daniel," she called out. "You look happy today." Daniel laughed softly. I think. I think I'm improving. I can feel it now." Marin nodded, her eyes warm. "Of course you are. You've been showing up every day." Daniel sat on a small wooden chair beside her. "But what surprised me is that I didn't notice it happening. I didn't feel it day by day." "That is how growth works," Marin said, tightening a string slowly. "It is not a loud event. It is a quiet process." Daniel listened carefully. She continued, "Think of a sunrise. You don't see it rise. You only see the sky becoming brighter. That is progress." Daniel looked at the sky above the shop. It was true. The change from morning to day is slow, soft, and almost invisible. "So how do I measure my progress?" Daniel asked. "How do I know I'm growing when I can't see it every day?" Marin smiled. That is an important question. Many people give up on their goals because they cannot see the progress. They think nothing is happening. But something is always happening. She placed the guitar on her lap and said, "You measure progress by comparing yourself, not to others, but to your own past self." Daniel looked thoughtful. "You ask yourself," she continued, "what can I do today that I could not do before?" Even if the answer is small, that is progress. That is growth. Daniel repeated the question in his mind. What can I do today that I could not do before? He listed the answers quietly in his heart. His fingers knew where to go, his ear recognized the chords, his rhythm was steadier, his fear was softer, his confidence was bigger, his routine was stronger. Those were real changes. Important changes. Changes that came from patience, not pressure. Also, Marin added softly, progress is not just about skills. Progress is also inside your heart. Daniel looked at her with curiosity. "Inside my heart?" "Yes," she said. "You have grown more patient. You have grown more gentle with yourself. You have learned to continue on difficult days. That is progress too." Sometimes, emotional progress is the strongest progress of all. Daniel felt her words settle deep inside him. They felt true. He had changed. Not just in how he played, but in how he thought, how he felt, how he understood himself. He thanked Marin and walked further along the beach, thinking deeply. The sun touched the water, making everything shine. He picked up a small stone from the sand. It was smooth, warm from the sun. He held it for a moment and then placed it into his pocket. As he walked home, he created a new idea in his mind. When he got home, he took out his notebook and wrote, "How to see progress. Compare myself to my past, not to others. Notice what feels easier today. Celebrate small improvements. Remember, emotional growth is real growth. Pause sometimes and look back, asterisk asterisk." He looked at the page and felt a soft satisfaction. This list felt helpful. True. Gentle. He placed the notebook down and picked up the guitar again. This time, he played without thinking too much. He simply enjoyed the sound. He enjoyed the movement of his fingers. He enjoyed the soft sunlight filling the room. And in that moment, he realized something powerful. Progress feels good when you allow yourself to feel it. The next morning, he added something new to his routine. After practicing for 10 minutes, he took a moment to write one sentence in his notebook. "Today, I improved because." Some days he wrote, "I played with more ease. My fingers hurt less. I showed up even when I felt tired. I felt calmer. I understood a sound better." Each sentence was simple, honest, and each one helped him see the invisible progress happening inside him. One day, a friend named Samuel visited. Samuel noticed the guitar in Daniel's room and asked, "Can you play something?" Daniel felt nervous at first. He had never played for anyone else. But then he remembered his routine, his progress, his gentle growth. He took a breath and played the simple chords he knew. Samuel listened quietly. When Daniel finished, Samuel smiled wide. "You sound good," he said with genuine warmth. Daniel felt surprised. "Really?" "Yes," Samuel said. "You've improved a lot." That moment filled Daniel with joy, not because he played perfectly, but because someone else could see what he felt quietly inside. And so, my friend, as you listen to this part of the story, I want to ask you something gently. Have you noticed your own progress? Not the big progress, not the dramatic progress, but the soft progress, the quiet progress, the progress inside your heart. Ask yourself, what can I do today that I could not do before? How have I grown even in small ways? What feels easier now? What fears feel softer now? What habits are stronger now? Your progress is real, even if you cannot always see it, even if it moves quietly, even if it is slow. Progress is like a flower opening. You do not see each moment, but you see the beauty when you step back. And in the next section of our story, Daniel learns something even deeper: how to stay motivated for the long journey, and how to keep his heart open even when the path becomes long. But for now, rest in this soft truth. Your progress is happening, quietly, slowly, beautifully. Believe in it. Believe in yourself. The next days of Daniel's life moved quietly, like soft waves touching the sand at dawn. His progress felt real now, and that feeling gave him a small spark inside, a spark of confidence, a spark of joy. But soon, he discovered something important about long journeys: motivation changes. Some days, it is full and warm, like a rising sun. Other days, it is small and dim, like a candle fighting a cold wind. And Daniel was about to experience this change in a way he did not expect. It began with excitement. After noticing his progress, he practiced with more energy. He played a little longer, listened a little more carefully, and enjoyed the simple beauty of each chord. When he walked through the village, he imagined playing songs for friends someday. When he sat near the sea, he imagined performing a small tune under the sunset. These dreams made him smile. They pushed him forward. But after some days, the excitement softened. Not because something bad happened, but because life continued, as it always does. The same morning routine, the same chords, the same simple patterns. The quiet rhythm was comfortable, but slowly, Daniel's mind began to feel less excited. His heart began to feel less bright. He still practiced, but the spark felt weaker. One morning, he woke up feeling heavy. Not sad, just flat. He picked up his guitar, played for a few minutes, and then put it down. The notes did not feel alive. His fingers felt tired. His mind felt slow. "Why do I feel this way?" he whispered to himself. He looked around his room, at the notebook filled with his progress, at the window where sunlight entered softly, at the guitar resting on the chair. Everything looked the same, but he felt different. Later that afternoon, while walking through the town, he passed Marin's music shop. The door was open, and he heard the gentle sound of a flute floating out into the street. He stepped inside. The air smelled of wood and paper and warm old furniture. Marin looked up from behind the counter. "Hello, Daniel," she said warmly. "You look quiet today." Daniel gave her a small smile. "I don't know what's happening. I am still practicing, but I don't feel the same excitement I felt last week. My motivation feels small." Marin nodded, as if she had heard these words many times before. She invited him to sit on a small wooden stool near the window. "Motivation is like the weather," she said. "Sometimes it is bright. Sometimes it is cloudy. But it always changes." Daniel let the words sit in his heart. "But what do I do when the sky inside me feels cloudy? How do I keep going?" Marin leaned back slightly, her eyes soft. That is the real question, not how to begin, but how to continue." Daniel listened carefully. She continued, "Motivation is helpful for starting a journey. But discipline, routine, meaning, and love, these are what help you continue the journey. Daniel looked surprised. Meaning? Love. Yes, Marin said gently. When motivation fades, you must remember why you began. The deeper reason. The quiet reason. The reason that comes from your heart. Daniel looked down at his hands. He tried to remember. Why did he start learning the guitar? He remembered the first day in her shop, the sound of the guitar string, the feeling inside him that said, I want this. He remembered sitting by the sea, imagining creating music that felt like memories and hope. He remembered wanting to express something inside him, something words could not express. He looked up slowly. I think I began because I wanted to feel music, not just hear it. I wanted to make something beautiful. Marin nodded. That is your meaning. When motivation becomes weak, return to your meaning. It will guide you. Daniel took a breath. But sometimes it still feels hard. Of course, she said. Long journeys always feel hard sometimes. That is natural. But there are ways to keep your heart warm, even on quiet days. Daniel looked interested. How? Marin smiled gently. First, remember your progress. Look back and see how far you have come. Progress gives strength. Daniel nodded. Second, she said, make your journey beautiful. Add joy to it. Practice in a place you love. Add small rituals. Play songs you enjoy. Light a candle. Pour a warm drink. Make the moment special. Daniel thought about this and smiled softly. And third, she continued, share your journey with someone. Even just talking about it helps. If you keep everything inside, your motivation becomes lonely. But when you share it, it grows. Daniel felt a warmth inside him. Sharing the journey, yes, that felt true. And finally, Marin said, do not wait for motivation. Sometimes you lead. Sometimes motivation follows. Daniel repeated the words slowly, as if tasting them. Sometimes you lead, sometimes motivation follows. He let the truth sink into him. Motivation was not the leader. He was. After leaving the shop, Daniel walked down the road feeling lighter, but still thoughtful. He wanted to understand his heart better. He wanted to see clearly why his motivation had changed. He wanted to explore this part of his journey. So he walked toward the lighthouse, a place where he often found clarity. The tall white tower stood firm against the sky. The steps leading up to it were cracked and old, but familiar. He climbed slowly, his mind calm but curious. When he reached the top, he stepped into the open air. The sea spread out endlessly before him. The wind brushed against his face. The world felt big and quiet. He sat down near the railing and closed his eyes. Why do I feel less motivated? He asked himself gently. Inside the quiet, he listened. And then he realized something. He had been practicing every day, but he had not been celebrating himself. He had not been enjoying the journey. He had forgotten to feel proud, forgotten to feel joy, forgotten to feel curious. He had turned the routine into a responsibility instead of a gift. He opened his eyes. The realization felt soft but important. Just then, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned and saw Elias standing there, holding a lantern he had been cleaning. Thinking again? Elias asked with a smile. Yes, Daniel said. About motivation. Elias came closer and leaned on the railing beside him. Motivation is a friend, he said, but not a reliable one. It visits when it wants. It leaves when it wants. If you depend on motivation, you will feel lost. Daniel nodded. So, what should I depend on? Elias looked at him with kind eyes. Depend on your heart. Depend on your purpose. Depend on your small steps. Motivation is like the wind. It can push you forward, but you cannot control it. Your purpose is like the ground. It holds you steady. Daniel let out a slow breath. I didn't understand that before. Elias placed the lantern on the ground. Also, he said softly, motivation returns when you reconnect with joy. Joy? Daniel asked quietly. Yes, Elias said. If you forget to enjoy the journey becomes heavy. Find small ways to bring joy back. Play a melody you love. Sit in the sun while you practice. Learn one small new thing. Joy is the spark that makes the long road feel shorter. Daniel listened deeply. The words felt true in a way that made his chest feel warm. He looked out at the sea again. I think I lost some joy. Elias nodded. Then find it again. Or create it. Joy does not always return by itself. Sometimes you must make space for it. Daniel sat quietly, thinking about this. The sea moved peacefully below them. The wind was gentle now. His mind felt clearer, as if the fog inside him had lifted a little. After a long silence, Elias spoke again. Motivation fades. Discipline continues. But joy is what makes the journey feel alive. Daniel touched the small stone in his pocket, the one he picked up from the beach days earlier. He held it tightly. I want the journey to feel alive, he said softly. Elias smiled. Then you are already on the right path. Daniel stood up, feeling something new, a calm determination, a soft warmth, a deeper understanding. He realized motivation was not something he needed to fear losing. It was not something he needed to chase. It was simply something that changed, something that moved like the wind, something that would return again and again as long as he stayed open to joy. He walked back home slowly, but with a clear mind. When he entered his room, he picked up his guitar and played, not because he felt motivated, but because the music felt good in his hands. Because the sound felt honest. Because the journey felt beautiful again. And that night, in his notebook, he wrote, I do not need motivation every day. I only need purpose. I only need joy. I only need small steps. He closed the notebook, feeling calm. 2 days passed gently after Daniel's walk to the lighthouse. His heart felt calmer, steadier. He understood something important now. Motivation was not the engine of his journey. Motivation was only a visitor. The true strength came from something softer, deeper, his purpose, his joy, his simple daily actions. But he was about to discover another truth, something just as important. Real motivation grows when you stay connected to the world around you. When you share moments. When you learn from others. When you let life give you new sparks. It happened on a quiet evening when the sky was deep blue and the moon was rising over the village. The town square was filled with warm lights, and people gathered for something special, a small music night. It was not a big event. No stage, no large audience, no bright microphones. Just a circle of villagers sitting together, playing instruments, singing soft songs, laughing, sharing tea and stories. Daniel had heard about these music nights, but he had never joined one before. He always felt shy, too new, too unsure. But something in him wanted to go now. Not to play, just to listen. To feel the music. To let joy find him again. So he walked slowly to the square. The air smelled of warm bread and fresh herbs. Lanterns hung from the trees, glowing gently like captured fireflies. People sat on the stone steps, on wooden benches, on colorful blankets laid across the ground. Children ran around holding small paper lanterns shaped like stars. The whole place felt light, peaceful, full of quiet happiness. Daniel stood at the edge for a moment, watching. Then Marin noticed him and waved. Daniel, she called cheerfully. Come join us. He walked over, and she handed him a warm cup of tea. Sit, she said. Just enjoy. Daniel sat beside her and listened. An older man played a soft melody on a wooden flute. A young girl played a simple rhythm on a hand drum. 2 brothers shared a guitar, passing it back and forth. The music was not perfect, but it was alive. Colorful. Honest. Everyone smiled as they played. Everyone encouraged one another. Everyone celebrated every little sound. And something inside Daniel began to warm. He felt the music touch him, not just in his ears, but in his heart. The sound made him remember why he began learning the guitar. It made him feel connected again, inspired again. It felt like discovering sunlight after a long morning of clouds. At one point, a gentle voice spoke behind him. "You hear it, don't you?" Daniel turned. It was Elias, sitting on a wooden bench with his hands folded calmly. Daniel smiled softly. "Yes, I hear it." Elias leaned forward. "This is why people make music, not only to play it, but to share it. Music becomes stronger when it is shared. Inspiration becomes stronger when it is shared. Hearts become lighter when they are shared." Daniel nodded. "It feels warm." "Exactly," Elias said. "When your motivation is weak, listen to others. Watch others. Feel their joy. Their energy will touch you. This is the power of community." Daniel watched the group again. A boy who looked no older than 7 was plucking a tiny string instrument. Each note he played came with a huge smile, and everyone around him clapped softly, encouraging him. Daniel whispered, "Their joy, it's contagious." "Yes," Elias said. "Motivation grows when it is near joy." Daniel took a deep breath. He felt something rising inside him, not a wild excitement, but a soft glow. A quiet desire. A peaceful curiosity. He felt like a small flame had been lit again. Suddenly, Marin turned toward him. "Daniel," she said kindly, "do you want to try playing something? Just a simple chord." Daniel felt his stomach tighten. "Oh, I'm not sure I'm ready." Marin smiled. "You don't need to be ready. This is not a performance. This is just sharing." He looked around. The faces around him were gentle. No one looked judgmental or impatient. Everyone looked warm, open, friendly. He hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Okay, maybe one chord." Marin handed him the guitar. Daniel's hands trembled slightly as he positioned his fingers. He took a breath, placed his fingers on a simple G chord, and strummed. The sound floated softly into the air. People smiled. "That was lovely," said the woman sitting next to him. "Play another," someone else encouraged. Daniel swallowed and played again. And again. He didn't play anything complicated, just the chords he knew. But each time he strummed, his hands relaxed a little more. His breath became deeper. His heart felt lighter. Then a surprising thing happened. A boy with a drum started tapping a soft rhythm to match his chord. Then the flute joined in. Then someone hummed lightly in the background. All of it blended around Daniel's simple chord, turning it into something bigger, fuller, more beautiful. Daniel felt tears rise in his eyes, not from sadness, but from pure, gentle joy. His simple chord mattered. His small progress mattered. His quiet journey mattered. He played for a few minutes, then handed the guitar back to Marin, smiling with deep thanks. "You see," she said softly, "you don't need to be great to join the world. You only need to be present." Daniel nodded. This made me feel alive." Elias stepped closer. "Motivation grows when you feel alive." Daniel looked at him. "I think I understand now. Motivation isn't something I must chase. It is something I can create through joy, connection, and sharing." "Yes," Elias said with warmth. "Motivation grows when you let yourself be part of life." Daniel stayed at the music night until the last lantern dimmed. He listened. He smiled. He spoke with new confidence. When he finally walked home under the moonlight, he felt full, not busy, not pressured, not overwhelmed, but full. His heart felt warm. His purpose felt clear. His journey felt alive again. When he got home, he opened his notebook and wrote, "Tonight, I remembered why I began. Joy gives energy. Community gives courage. Sharing gives life.my journey is not only mine.it is connected to every sound, every person, every moment of beauty. He placed his notebook on the table and sat quietly in the dark room, feeling peaceful. And now, my friend, I want to gently ask you something. Where does your motivation come from? Is it from pressure, or from joy, from fear, or from purpose, from isolation, or from connection? Like Daniel, you might discover that your motivation becomes stronger when you enjoy the journey, when you share it, when you let others inspire you, and when you remember your deeper purpose. Motivation is not the fire that keeps burning. Motivation is the spark. Your heart is the fire. And in the next part of our story, Daniel learns how to plan for the long future, how to build a vision that lasts not just weeks or months, but years. A vision that guides him gently, like a lighthouse guiding ships home. But for now, rest in this truth. Your journey becomes brighter when you share it, your heart becomes stronger when you connect, and your motivation grows when you remember your why. He understood something important now. Motivation was not the engine of his journey. Motivation was only a visitor. The true strength came from something softer, deeper, his purpose, his joy, his simple daily actions. But he was about to discover another truth, something just as important. Real motivation grows when you stay connected to the world around you. When you share moments. When you learn from others. When you let life give you new sparks. It happened on a quiet evening when the sky was deep blue and the moon was rising over the village. The town square was filled with warm lights, and people gathered for something special, a small music night. It was not a big event. No stage, no large audience, no bright microphones. Just a circle of villagers sitting together, playing instruments, singing soft songs, laughing, sharing tea and stories. Daniel had heard about these music nights, but he had never joined one before. He always felt shy, too new, too unsure. But something in him wanted to go now. Not to play, just to listen. To feel the music. To let joy find him again. So he walked slowly to the square. The air smelled of warm bread and fresh herbs. Truth. Lanterns hung from the trees, glowing gently like captured fireflies. People sat on the stone steps, on wooden benches, on colorful blankets laid across the ground. Children ran around holding small paper lanterns shaped like stars. The whole place felt light, peaceful, full of quiet happiness. Daniel stood at the edge for a moment, watching. Then Marin noticed him and waved. "Daniel," she called cheerfully. "Come join us." He walked over, and she handed him a warm cup of tea. "Sit," she said. "Just enjoy." Daniel sat beside her and listened. An older man played a soft melody on a wooden flute. A young girl played a simple rhythm on a hand drum. Two brothers shared a guitar, passing it back and forth. The music was not perfect, but it was alive. Colorful. Honest. Everyone smiled as they played. Everyone encouraged one another. Everyone celebrated every little sound. And something inside Daniel began to warm. He felt the music touch him, not just in his ears, but in his heart. The sound made him remember why he began learning the guitar. It made him feel connected again, inspired again. It felt like discovering sunlight after a long morning of clouds. At one point, a gentle voice spoke behind him. "You hear it, don't you?" Daniel turned. It was Elias, sitting on a wooden bench with his hands folded calmly. Daniel smiled softly. "Yes, I hear it." Elias leaned forward. "This is why people make music, not only to play it, but to share it. Music becomes stronger when it is shared. Inspiration becomes stronger when it is shared. Hearts become lighter when they are shared." Daniel nodded. "It feels warm." "Exactly," Elias said. "When your motivation is weak, listen to others. Watch others. Feel their joy. Their energy will touch you. This is the power of community." Daniel watched the group again. A boy who looked no older than 7 was plucking a tiny string instrument. Each note he played came with a huge smile, and everyone around him clapped softly, encouraging him. Daniel whispered, "Their joy, it's contagious." "Yes," Elias said. "Motivation grows when it is near joy." Daniel took a deep breath. He felt something rising inside him, not a wild excitement, but a soft glow. A quiet desire. A peaceful curiosity. He felt like a small flame had been lit again. Suddenly, Marin turned toward him. "Daniel," she said kindly, "do you want to try playing something? Just a simple chord." Daniel felt his stomach tighten. "Oh, I'm not sure I'm ready." Marin smiled. "You don't need to be ready. This is not a performance. This is just sharing." He looked around. The faces around him were gentle. No one looked judgmental or impatient. Everyone looked warm, open, friendly. He hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Okay, maybe one chord." Marin handed him the guitar. Daniel's hands trembled slightly as he positioned his fingers. He took a breath, placed his fingers on a simple G chord, and strummed. The sound floated softly into the air. People smiled. "That was lovely," said the woman sitting next to him. "Play another," someone else encouraged. Daniel swallowed and played again. And again. He didn't play anything complicated, just the chords he knew. But each time he strummed, his hands relaxed a little more. His breath became deeper. His heart felt lighter. Then a surprising thing happened. A boy with a drum started tapping a soft rhythm to match his chord. Then the flute joined in. Then someone hummed lightly in the background. All of it blended around Daniel's simple chord, turning it into something bigger, fuller, more beautiful. Daniel felt tears rise in his eyes, not from sadness, but from pure, gentle joy. His simple chord mattered. His small progress mattered. His quiet journey mattered. He played for a few minutes, then handed the guitar back to Marin, smiling with deep thanks. "You see," she said softly, "you don't need to be great to join the world. You only need to be present." Daniel nodded. This made me feel alive." Elias stepped closer. "Motivation grows when you feel alive." Daniel looked at him. "I think I understand now. Motivation isn't something I must chase. It is something I can create through joy, connection, and sharing." "Yes," Elias said with warmth. "Motivation grows when you let yourself be part of life." Daniel stayed at the music night until the last lantern dimmed. He listened. He smiled. He spoke with new confidence. When he finally walked home under the moonlight, he felt full, not busy, not pressured, not overwhelmed, but full. His heart felt warm. His purpose felt clear. His journey felt alive again. When he got home, he opened his notebook and wrote, "Tonight, I remembered why I began." Joy gives energy. Community gives courage. Sharing gives life. My journey is not only mine. It is connected to every sound, every person, every moment of beauty. Asterisk, asterisk, he placed his notebook on the table and sat quietly in the dark room, feeling peaceful. "And now, my friend, I want to gently ask you something. Where does your motivation come from? Is it from pressure or from joy? From fear or from purpose? From isolation or from connection?" Like Daniel, you might discover that your motivation becomes stronger when you enjoy the journey, when you share it, when you let others inspire you, and when you remember your deeper purpose. Motivation is not the fire that keeps burning. Motivation is the spark. Your heart is the fire. And in the next part of our story, Daniel learns how to plan for the long future, how to build a vision that lasts not just weeks or months, but years. A vision that guides him gently, like a lighthouse guiding ships home. But for now, rest in this.